What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your creative unconscious reading for Saturday, August 20th. We are going to hop right on in. I just did some channeling. I'm filming this on Friday night, and I just went into I think of it as the cosmic library and did some channeling, and it was incredible. I feel much lighter. I may sound a bit tired because I am, but independent of that channeling, it just wow, so invigorating. I got some beautiful imagery coming through from it, and I was debating doing this reading tomorrow morning, but then it's just the energy I felt led towards it. One of the big themes that came through from that channeling. Let me just grab my little notebook here. Where did I put it? One of the themes that came through was about being the sun and the sun inside of us. I have a few pages here. The sun inside of us, and I when in the library there, I get a lot of images and things like that, but just the sun inside of you. I had asked the question about futility and sometimes feeling like things are futile. Like, what's the point, right? That was a question that I had asked. What's the point? I'll read to you, I guess. This is very vulnerable making, but one of the things that the library had to say, or the wisdom therein, and really it is just universal wisdom. Some people call it the Akashic Records, but I feel like Cosmic Library is far more connected to what feels accurate, right? And we all have this wisdom within us, and it's, some people might say different things about those who channel it, but when I think about a lot of my Christian upbringing and Catholic background, I think to myself, who answers your prayers and how, right? So there's no judgment or anything like that. So nonetheless, and so I said, what's the point? You asked this, and so this was the Cosmic Library speaking, but what's the point? You asked this and spoke the words recently. What precisely did you mean? My response written was that things feel futile at times and that I'm frustrated. And then, the library answered back, which is worth your vibrational alignment? How? And my response was, it isn't, I guess. And then this is the longer portion of what came through the channeling. This isn't something to leave to chance. If you see misalignment as a valuable teacher, then you will keep learning in that classroom until the bell rings and you decide to go to the next lesson and perhaps graduate altogether. Bring your attention to the word futile. You felt this white hot in your solar plexus. Imagine now as we unzip the energy and see inside the churning flares and sputter of your internal sun. Why do you dim this? Why have you encased it in anything requiring peering through? And my response was, because it burns people up otherwise. What does? Go deeper. That was the response. So then my response to that was, who I am. I'm often too intense, too much, or take up too much space. And then this was the response of the Cosmic Library. Definitively or subjectively? To what perspective do you owe your opinion? You speak of altars often. All of life is the choice, however, to worship or praise or lament or religiously express your emotions. Altars conceptualize sacrifice, and yet you have no sacrificial anchor to describe seeing the sun within you. Webb telescope photos articulate the same vastness of space that exists within you. It's why astrophysics feels so comfortable, because it is the theory from which you come. Your dad used to bowl, and you are remembering the cloth bag in which he placed his shoes and ball. The ball perfectly fit. This is the same around which you encase your heart, because the sun shines through and upwards. It is the fire for that chamber of energy. All of it remains connected by threads we feel that you are still in search of from an evolutionary perspective of sensation, and yet you feel it all the same. Yeah. Whoa. There's obviously more, but it's just that idea of this sun within us, right? This sun within us. And that's like the unedited version. I was like, oh, I'll make a nice little video of it, but it just felt appropriate to share here. So which one do you want, Spirit? This one. Okay. So I'm going to start here, just this reading on the premise of just connecting to our internal sun, connecting to our internal fire. What does that mean? Because there were a few moments of futility, that feeling of futility in the past couple of days, because I was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Right? Having that moment of frustration. And just feeling energy pitch a fit because it has nowhere to go. But after, now my ear's ringing. Whoa, my left ear's ringing. Feeling energy pitching a fit, but then realizing that it just has nowhere to go, because if it is encapsulated in any capacity, and this applies to many people, right? This doesn't just apply to my experience or what I'm experienced in that channeling. If it's encapsulated, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So that's the futility, not external circumstances that you then render as like part of your worth or part of what you should do and what you should do things with, right? So just that's something that came through right now. Volcanoes, holy shit. That's the image when I was in the channeling. That's what I felt, this sun inside of us, and like us meaning like a collective feeling. And it's almost like we've placed, and I almost feel like this is where we have these visceral responses to folks, and we can't always place it. We can't always place it, but it is like the mirror being held up, right? It's the mirror being held up. So if your sun is something that you have to unzip to access, it should just be. So why is there something around it, encasing it, right? And it's almost like an encasing, encase, like encasing, ENCASING. IN space case, encasing in case, but in case of what, right? So it's almost like this is definitely a confirmation here. And the 9 represents the hermit in the traditional Rider-Waite. So it's almost like this calling to not just go within, but I think that there's wisdom here, and you can even see it's like a bursting forth from the encasing, and then water as well. And I feel like this is a beautiful balance. This is a beautiful balance coming to the fore here. Because and it's like, what happens when this energy, this volcanic energy, meets with water? Aside from steam, that's how islands are made. We often see that with the Ring of Fire in the Pacific. So it's like how whole islands are made, and maybe you're making a world for yourself rather than being of it, right? They often talk about this biblically, but being of the world, rather, don't be in it, and all of these things. But it's almost like you are becoming a world unto yourself. You're becoming a world unto yourself. I realize I didn't grab a Rider-Waite deck. I only have the tiny one. Do I? Okay, that we're just. Hold on, let me grab one. Okay, thank you, Spirit. I know which one. Okay, thank you for bearing with me. I had to do a bit of grounding after that channeling because it was quite intense. Let's just do a basic spread here. Just a basic one. 7 of Cups. I feel like this is either, I don't know if this is fears as much as it is projections, right? We see that projection, and this is where like, it's almost like the reflection on the water is this mirror that is held up, that we respond to and react to from others. And the way that we have sort of tried to place this energy in chains, we tend to think of volcanic energy as largely and exclusively destructive. But what if it's the creation aspect instead that we need to be focusing on? Right? And I feel like it's almost like this is emotional triggers and reactions to projections that are out in the world. And when you really see yourself, you have nothing but the heart center. That was one of the big messages that was coming through that channeling, was just you have nothing but the heart center. That's left, right? That is left. And A Course in Miracles talks about that a lot. And just in terms of love is the only thing that's real. It's the only thing that's real. The Tower. Yeah. That's about how that feels, right? But again, what I love about this energy is it's almost like breaking free from this, like, it's like breaking free, right? It's a breaking free. And I feel like that's the energy that you're embracing, is the breaking free or breaking with. And I love how this looks like hardened, like the volcanic rock, right? Volcanic rock. And I almost see you emerging as like the, not necessarily the diamond, but the crystal. Like that's how a lot of crystals are formed, right? Like that's the product of heat and fire, but also water as well, right? So it's almost like the building blocks of a transformation, right? In fundamental elemental format. The Tower, Spirit, what other messages do you have to clarify this for my creative unconscious collective? 10 of Wands. So you're releasing the burden, right? You're releasing the burden. I almost feel like I'm seeing this as a water bearing energy. Instead of carrying, I think it was 11:11 on the time there. Instead of carrying this awareness with you, it's like you're integrating it now. You're integrating the consciousness with you, which is, different because you're carrying it. It's external. So you're not just putting it down, it's like drinking the water that you carry, right? So you're not only satiating a thirst, but you're also revitalizing cells. And there's so much more going on with that. But it's like instead of just simply carrying the water, you're also integrating it by putting it down. And putting it down in terms of the weight of it, because once it's inside you, you don't notice. I can drink you can drink like how many of these, right? You can drink how many of them. I try to drink one of them a day. Keep in mind too that like I'm a sizable person, but yeah, like 5'7", 5'8", right? So like and anyways, all of that stuff aside, but drinking that much water, I don't feel the increase in weight. I don't feel the burden. But if I were to carry this outside myself, if I were to try and carry this outside myself, I would feel the weight of it. It would get heavy. But if I drink this in a day, no. And it's almost like that's like some kind of consciousness or things it's coming through as this conscious awareness or consciousness shift maybe. Because there's a lot of energy of seeing things outside of yourself, right? Seeing things outside of yourself. And then it's almost like this awareness is like the Tower is the integration. That's the transformation. And it's not just integration of information and then, oh, now I know what to do. It's like a consciousness shift. And it's the water, again, I didn't even make the connection to this card, but it's here too. And the cups, right? This tends to represent more emotional energy and like, at its most basic level, emotion and flow. But I feel like there's this intuitive connection, and it's like you were carrying these vessels of consciousness with you. And I feel like what you're releasing is the carrying of them. This is like the way I'm seeing it is like I have a bookshelf full of books and they're really heavy if I carry them. But if I read them and integrate what I need to know from them and say thank you and release them, it's like it's a different energy altogether. Again, I use the example of the water. This is all coming through as channeling. So I'm so grateful that I sat down to do this. Oh my goodness. Look at that Death and the Ace of Cups. Yeah, that's like, I feel like that's a lot of this energy here. There's transformative energy for sure. Oh my goodness. For sure. Oh shit. Ace of Swords and Death on the split. Okay, so there's like massive energy to this. Then we have the High Priestess and the Devil and the Sun under that and the Knight of Pentacles. Oh my gosh. Okay. These are all asides. Let me just do this here. So this, I feel like this is an aside here. And then these are separate too. The reason why I pull these aside is because I feel like these are kind of threads that are informing this. And this is coming through channeling. I didn't anticipate these aspects to be here. I usually just do this one spread, but this is really coming through strong where I feel like there's, this at its most basic, this is like a transformative truth, right? The truth that transforms. But I feel like it goes beyond that. This is like a knowing. And what I'm seeing is someone actually sheathing a sword. So it could be there's this, your truth means that you don't have to fight. Your truth means that you don't need to show up in that energy. And that's your emergence, I feel, maybe. Because isn't it true that this energy, as much as it creates islands, first we feel this, we need to evacuate. It can cause so much destruction when it happens in a way that, we don't anticipate or expect. And that's where, the energy came through of like that sun, right? That sun energy. This is so in alignment with what came through while I was channeling. Like, I'm so grateful to Spirit for this. But it's almost like this sun energy. It's like you're understanding, like this is integrating and understanding, like, and this is also the Ace of Swords too, right? Understanding, but I see it more as a sheathing of a sword as opposed to, like that unsheathing of it. The devil energy and the high priestess here tell me about the stories that it's almost like your intuition was like trying to hedge and navigate through these stories that you told yourself or believed. And what that led to, is almost like I'm seeing this like burning up of energy. There's so much fire energy, the volcanoes here, and as well in the sun, and I feel like this is sort of a kind of fire too, electricity, albeit in a different form. But I see that this is like, it was burning through energy. It was like burning up energy. So it was really hard to understand or hear or comprehend. And I feel like this sort of slow approach here, it's like, it's not just revitalization and you finding happiness, right? This isn't just that. The banality of that is not applicable here. This is about something a little bit deeper, I think. And I think this is a way that you're approaching things. Now that it's like this release, right? And it's not about, I don't believe in discarding or things like that. Like, we choose energies that work for us and that feel good, right? And having CPTSD, I can say it's a different kind of ball game to navigate what feels good and what doesn't, and how we assess energy and do things like that from that perspective, right? Not everyone's going to have compassion for it, and that's okay. They don't need to. It's okay. I'm seeing here though that there's like this capacity that's expanding, and I see the Knight of Pentacles as a capacity, because as opposed to a momentum or a speed or a pace, I feel as though there's this integration of fire. There's an integration of fire that's allowing you to light something for the long haul. And it's allowing you to carry a heat, to carry that sun, right? You're removing the sun from that bag. You're removing the sun from its chains. And that's where I feel like this devil card comes through. Like, it just, right? And it's not something that burns people up, right? It's not something that burns away. It's not a heat that harms, right? We forget too that the heat that we might fear in ourselves, that fire, that passion, we forget that that's how we cooked meals. That's what saved us in so many circumstances, right? That's what brought us forward on this plane. So it's like all of that energy is, it's not something to fear. And I feel quite significantly that there's like, that's part of this release where you're integrating, right? It's like you're realizing that the consciousness and the energy that you were carrying as perhaps knowledge, or it almost became a burden because it was outside of you and you needed to drink it in. You needed to drink it in. So what you saw is 7 different cups. You saw confusion, illusion. I think the awareness that you have is because you're putting this down, but it's not just putting it down and then walking away from it. It's remembering and realizing that these were filled on the journey and they became burdens because you weren't drinking. You weren't allowing yourself nourishment for the journey. You weren't drinking from these cups. And I think that this is the 10 of Wands, yes, but I'm almost getting this as like water bearer energy, right? Like, it's like carrying water. And the bridging energy is the muse of cups. That's funny. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective, please? And the 9 of Cups, of course. I feel like that captures it, right? It's like you go from this energy of just carrying the consciousness with you to integrating it. And that's the wish fulfillment. Maybe that's the wish fulfillment that you kept looking for outside of yourself. And it felt like a burden because you're like, well, if I have all this stuff, then I'll know. Then it'll be the thing. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it, guys. It's fine. I got it. And you don't got it because it needed to be integrated, right? Needed to be integrated. hmm Needed to be integrated. And I think that's what this really is here, this Ace of Swords. It's like a sheathing of the sword, and by virtue of access to this part of you, you don't need to fight anymore. It's not fighting really. It's almost like when you fear your power, it's not that you fear other people's, but you reject the idea that you might be inherently powerful. And so all of these things happen that it's like you just say, it's okay, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And it's not, right? And it's not. Um, and I feel a whole lot like this is, um, I feel like this is integration, this is alchemy. But what I'm also seeing in this is like, it's almost like the diamonds, right? Like I talked about crystals and the way that it's like you burst forth, right? They're created with this energy. And it's almost like there's a way that you're shining, and you're shining. And what I love about the imagery of these crystals is because when the light hits them, the full spectrum of light comes out the other side. And I've been thinking about spectrums and visible light and invisible light and all of the things in between that in the natural world, and how much, well, as opposed to the unnatural world, whatever. Um, it's but it's that idea that within you there is a spectrum of seen and unseen. And it's like the unseen comes to mind here because, meditative position and eyes closed, right? So it's like it's seeing the unseen, seeing the unseen. And this could be twin flame related for some folks. Could be. Spirit, can you clarify these messages for me for my creative unconscious collective? And there was something about forgiveness hold on. I'm getting forgiveness on this, right? And like while I was doing that channeling, I just thought to myself, like, what is forgiveness really? What is forgiveness when it comes to, I don't know, forgiveness in terms of the ways we let ourselves down. No one's energy can truly affect you. So this is the Cosmic Library speaking. So no one's energy can truly affect you but through the thoughts you have about yourself. It's why forgiveness so undoes people. They realize they did not need to suffer, and that the feeling burns like acid through a life, leaving charred paper remains where full books might otherwise be, love-stained pages bearing witness to the sun. So, yes, just thinking about forgiveness on those terms too. Oh, it was profound channeling session. So we have the Six of Pentacles, right? Which is, I think this is like balance and like the midpoint on a journey, right? This is the midpoint of growth, right? It's getting to that place of I am allowing things in, going from the I don't want to let anyone have things, or I need to hold on to this, from the Four of Pentacles into the Five of Pentacles of exploring the need to hold on to it a little deeper. and then coming to a place of realizing how much there actually is, right? The Seven of Pentacles is putting in the work to take it one step further and further on the journey. But I think that this is like the midpoint, and it's quite a nice midpoint in terms of the cups here, and seeing things outside of ourselves, because what that does is by seeing these illusions, we call them illusions, right? In a sense of, and I've experienced this too, where you say it's like illusion, and it's like with this sort of edge to it, but there doesn't need to be the edge to it. There doesn't need to be the edge to it. So in the absence of that, it's not illusion, it's a projection that we put into the world. And so it's almost like correcting that perception and seeing how much there actually is, not to choose from, but that are sort of the fruits of the investments in ourselves, the fruits of the investments in different perspectives, the ones that nourish us and the ones that don't. And I think this is about recognizing that. And this is the Queen of Wands, which is very interesting. Because so Christina Lopes had, there was a clip that she posted about the mother wound. And last night driving home from work, it was pitch black. It was so dark out. And I drive along the edge of the city to get back home, and it's just, you can see like the light pollution on this side, and then it's like a lot of dark sky on this side, and I love that. But that clip popped into mind, and then I shit you not, the license plate on the car in front of me said M Lopes 1. I was like, what? What? Right. And then, while driving today, this is coming to mind as well. I went to this little antique market nearby here, because I was like, I am just not going to, I refuse to be mad at myself today and be frustrated. I'm going to go do something just to clear the slate, to just, for me. And I love going to little antique markets and things like that and walking around. It's just so interesting, some of the stuff that you find. And, nonetheless, one of the signs going through the town to get to the market said something along the lines of, let God lay the bricks like one by one, or something like that, like one brick at a time. And it was just like, it was so, it's just, my intuition has been quite, I don't want to say on fire, right? Because there's, anyways, gestures vaguely at this side of the cards. But the reason why I'm thinking about that is this sort of like laying this brick by brick foundation. And that's like, the song One Step at a Time. I considered it as coming from one of my guides. And then, looking back at other videos, I was like, oh, that's Christina Lopes talking about that too. I was like, shit, I didn't realize that was the case. But anyways, it was just like one thing at a time, just and not in terms of like, I will do this thing and then I will do this thing, and it's very neat and tidy, because spiritual awakening is anything but. And I was like, I'm awake, right? No, I was, but not like this now. It's very different. So it's just going back to that mother wound piece. I almost find this, I feel like this is sort of like nurturing ourselves, right? Nurturing ourselves. And again, the fire, right? And this to me is coming across as both sides of the story here, where we open up to our fire inside, the sun inside of us, right? We open up to our inner sun, or we close down to it, because either side of this, the upright or the reversal, can be true in the ways that we take that information in. But then again, this is also a transformation energy, in that the snake is here, right? But the snake is protecting the eggs, and that's where it's like the parts of you that needed either protection, but maybe not protection necessarily, but maybe these are ideas that you're nurturing. This could be aspects of yourself and your healing that you're nurturing. This can represent so many different things, but I just wanted to say that because I saw that the mother energy in here, and it just cracked me up. I was driving and I'm like laughing so hard, and there's nobody else in the car but me. And it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, Spirit, I got it. I got you. Right? So I'm just letting moments like that speak to you, instead of saying, isn't that interesting? Really take it in. Because like maybe Spirit or God or whatever, maybe you're being spoken to, right? Maybe prayers are being answered through that sign. Maybe, that's someone's prayer of protection for you, right? Maybe when you pray or put energy out into the world to protect your loved ones and whatnot, maybe that those things are what finds them, right? And just considering that maybe that's that sign, or those synchronicities are somebody's answered prayer to reach you. So I don't know, that just came through, but because I was just thinking about it and I'm like, huh, interesting. Okay, what's trying to come out here? Oh, oh, I see. Big emphasis on the transformation here and what needing to change. Like it's almost like I want to say it's inescapable, but I don't think that it's inescapable in that like it's coming. But I feel like it has to happen. It has to happen because you can only be dehydrated for so long, be it spiritually or literally or physically, like whatever way you want to look at this, right? You can only be dehydrated for so long. And then it's almost like you're like, oh shit, there's a sprinkler system. Let me just like, and then flick this. You just flick the switch and it's on, right? That kind of vibe. And then we we have the Ace of Cups and the Five of Swords, which is very interesting energy. And I feel like this is that conflict, right? The sheathing of the sword, and that's this transformation. So I find it quite intriguing that it's on the tower, clarifying the tower. But I do feel like there's an energy of understanding that, like, I don't know, I'm hearing the words like that love is a battlefield, but it's not. It really isn't. And when you see it that way, it's like if love is the only thing that's real, and we kind of get out of our own way, and shout out to Sydney. There was this guy, Sydney from Awakening to Spirit. There's this guy she posted, Rodney Norman. I could not stop laughing. It was like, enjoy your stupid life. I was like, oh yeah. And then I shared it with my friend who shared it with her mom, and like, it was just like, it was so funny. But I almost feel like it's that sort of like you get to the top of the mountain and you're like, profoundly fuck this. And it's not in a bad way, right? It's not in a bad way. But it's because you have the perspective to see, you're like, well, that's a valley I'm not going down, and I see things from this perspective. So it's like the bigger take, the wider take, right? Bigger picture. And I almost get that this is like understanding not battles that you're showing up for. It's not battles that you're showing up for. This is about what I'm getting is like understanding that these two things you don't need them both. Like, it's like you don't need protection from love. I mean, like, if you use protection, during sex and all of that stuff, that's not what I'm talking about here. It's like, I'm talking about the protection in terms of like needing, I don't know. It's like, forgetting that you start here with 9. So when you only have the 1, because you're not recognizing the 9, 1 really feels like a scary thing to lose, right? It really does. It feels like a really scary thing to lose. And I think that underpins the need to fill our own cup, but that's sort of the generality of it. So bringing it into that granularity, that's why, right? That's why it's important to be here. That's why it's important, not just before you seek love. It's not about that, right? I was thinking about this just in terms of like aloneness, right? And feeling the depth and weight of that in terms of like who checks on us, right? Like who checks on us in our darker moments or when we kind of go quiet, right? Who are our people? You don't need a ton of them, but just thinking about it in terms of that mother wound, like really sinking into that, because it resonated and I was like, ooh, I don't want to do this. But then it was like going into it and really leaning into that and saying, okay, feeling alone in the world, it kind of characterized the relationship that I had with my mother. And even now, right, wonderful human being. But I know that while she brought me into this world and does many different things and did different things to meet the role of mother, there's something to be said for when you're younger, needing like needing that mommy figure, but then also needing that like adult, right? Needing that adult. And that's one of the things that, Lopes talked about too. But what I'm getting from this is like when you're alone, right? When you're alone, not lonely, when you're alone, and it's just you on your own, yes, but understanding that you exist in the world independent of anything and anyone else. And, a lot of people, I've talked to friends who have unfortunately lost parents, and they say that captures that feeling of losing both, where you realize that it's just you in the world by yourself. It's just you. And I experienced that quite young, unfortunately. But fortunately, because in a way, it really kind of cracked my awareness open really early, right? That's the gifts of trauma, is that then you can speak on these things and shine light for others through it. Not necessary to happen, but it's what you make of it. So all of that to say, what I see here is just, it's sort of this almost like diamond-like recognition, like you're seeing the diamonds of it. And I say that because you can feel alone. You can feel the weight of being just you, and then not you versus the world, right? Like this is this sort of, the tower is this moment of you in the world, or you of the world, or how I'm trying to word this because it's coming through in that sort of flip again. When you realize that you have 9 cups inside you, this is coming through again. When you realize you have 9 inside you, you don't need, this is like an energy that makes something whole unto itself a completion, right? Like it's like it's whole unto itself, right? It's because I know people would be like, but the 10 is the completion. Yes, according to the hero's journey through the tarot, but for all intents and purposes, a 9 is a completion too, right? So it's like understanding how we place these things in our perspective, in our awareness, and also just how we can require conflict when we don't understand where this comes from and that source of it, right? So, okay, I'm going to clarify. I don't know how long this is. Okay, not too bad. This one came kind of popping out the bottom here. 4 of Cups on the 10 of Cups. Sorry, 4 of Cups on the 10 of Wands. 4 of Cups on the 10 of Wands. Spirit, can you clarify the 4 of Cups here for me? Okay. Oh, the transformation energy. Oh, wow, the Empress. Oh, beautiful. I almost feel like this. So the 2 of Pentacles is sort of this like balancing your perspective and awareness, right? Because you're carrying this consciousness outside of you, integrating it. That's the story of what this is here. And I almost feel like, again, this kind of protection energy here, right? Like, got to protect those 4 cups because God forbid. But again, it's sort of this progression into this 9 of Cups where it's like this is your embodied awareness of yourself, and your emotional center, and a stability in that. Yeah, I'm hearing not much else matters. Like when you get to that place, there's not a whole lot else that matters. And so then the 2 of Pentacles here, I almost feel like this is like, I think that this is a stable, it's almost like this, I'm getting this as like a root energy in you, right? As you kind of begin to soar, it's like building this foundation. And this in the traditional Rider-Waite is less of foundation building and more about, balancing and coming into balance as people read it. But I feel like this is more foundational energy. And I feel like this is the security of knowing that you can. This is will, right? This is will. And that's where the 2 of Pentacles can get caught, because we can forget that when we have that, balancing to do or that decision to make, it's like it does deeply relate to that foundation energy. And then the Page of Wands came out, more fire. And it's almost like this is like you kind of testing the waters with your fire a little bit as you transform and come into alignment. And then the Empress shows up. but I feel like this is you. There's a lot of markers here of this being you, and a lot of the readings that I've watched lately also relate to that. Like, like ditching what wasn't working and whom wasn't working, and then stepping into your Empress energy, right? And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. That's kind of what's happening here. Yeah. Seven of Cups again on the Nine of Cups. Interesting. It's almost like coming full circle, right? It's like coming full circle. And the beauty of this, I love this card so much, because when you see this here, there's the Six of Cups. It's almost like there's an abundance. This, to me, this strikes me as more of an abundance variation of the Seven of Cups, right? An abundance, because when you kind of flip this under the sun energy, right? Like your fire, there's the Ace, right? It's like this recognition of what it's in placing the one cup in a position that doesn't require conflict to recognize it, right? It doesn't require conflict to recognize it. I'm hearing ease and flow. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective? We have the Lovers. Ease and flow, baby. Ease and flow. I feel like this is a little bit of that Mercury energy, though. Mercury energy. I'm hearing 80-20 rule. Hierophant. Wow. This is pretty awesome. I you can probably hear the smile, but this is some Taurian energy, and the reason why I'm chuckling a little bit is because it's almost like committing to yourself in a way, right? Like committing to yourself. You know, when my marriage ended, I married myself. I went out and got a specific ring, and I did that whole process, and I was like, no, I'm going to spend a year dating myself, right? Dating myself. That's when I read Calling in the One for the first time. I've been rereading it, but it was really important to me to get to know. And this was I think it was a lot of, when you do this process, or do that process in particular, through, things that haven't healed yet, it only goes so far, right? So the reason why I say that in response to this is because I feel like this is almost like the Nine of Cups is like the last of things. But I don't know if it's even the last of things, because it's a process that doesn't end, right? Like it doesn't stop. Our life just continue, like it's a healing process. That's what we're here to do, right? It's that Rumi quote. Your job isn't to, seek for love, but to find the places within you that you've built up barriers against it, and to take those down. At the outset, I feel like this is almost like this is so curious, because it's like the lightning in the tower here. The lightning in the tower cards is coming through in the Hierophant. This could be, I think this is possibly I want to say commitment, but not necessarily in terms of like put a ring on it. It's more like, so interesting. When I said that, I thought of this card. I think this has to do with foundation building more than anything. It's like committing to a path, I think, committing to path in a way that is not only healing, but that's giving you greater access to yourself. Yeah, the Chariot. And there it's like onward, right? It's like freedom. It's like that, and then that's where the momentum starts. That's why I didn't see momentum with this. I see the momentum here with the Chariot, because it's that this is Cancerian energy, but it's like that forward movement. The heart space is like, I understand. Like it's like there's a it's like integration of the fire, and it's almost like this consciousness, right? Like this watery consciousness that you were carrying that felt burning, like it felt like a burning because of how you were carrying it. You integrate that, and then I feel like it's like onward from here. Like you can move forward in a healed and healing way. This is like, I feel like this is heart healing. In terms of signs, so far we have Scorpio. We also have some Leo energy as well as Capricorn. We've got some moon here. It's not really a sign, but take that for what you will. We also have Cancerian, Taurian energy, Gemini. We have some Venus in the Empress. We have the Tower twice, so Pluto energy. So Pluto and Aries, so Scorpio possibly. But I feel like that's more transformation than Scorpionic per se. But I feel like this is your reading. I feel like it went really deep, but it doesn't feel like it. Like it just feels like I've barely scratched the surface based on the channeling that I did while I was in the record. So yeah, this is your reading, my friends. Let me pull. Okay, so Spirit, what? Okay, got it. I'm just gonna pull some chakra cards. There were a couple that were mentioned in the channeling, but I just want to see what Spirit has in store for us based on this spread. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective, please? Messages for my creative unconscious collective. No, okay. Greatness. Whoa. Okay. That's more fire. I did not see. Okay. Anyways. Greatness. I like, love, and accept myself. I am wonderful and talented and know that greatness resides within me. I harness my greatness and show up in the world. I allow myself to be seen and heard. I cultivate my genius and observe with love and excitement as my greatness makes a positive difference in the world. I am wonderful. Love that. And then I'm going to pull from the Hero's Journey. Spirit, what messages do you have for... Okay. Whoa. Say yes to your higher calling. More fire. That's amazing. More solar plexus energy. Be a human exclamation mark. Holy shit. There was punctuation. Something about punctuation during one of the weekly readings. So maybe go check that out. If I remember, I'll put a card up here somewhere. Up there. So interesting. Be a human exclamation mark. Yeah. The Sag in my chart really likes that. But yeah, be a human exclamation mark. That's beautiful. And that's it though. Like nothing else matters, does it? Like nothing else matters. And people can get, all bent out of shape about that. But what else matters than that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm thinking of right now is just something that Cindy had said in Awakening to Spirit, like on her channel, it was the closer to the light you get, the longer the shadow. And that stuck with me because I was like, whoa, like that's intense, number one. But number two, I also can't help but wonder if that has a lot to do with this like solar plexus energy right now, right here in this reading, right? It's like there's like a closer to the light now. There's a closer to the light, and I'm drawn to these two cards, the Ace of Swords and the Death card. Maybe that's what's been transformed, right? Understanding that the shadow cast doesn't mean that there are things hiding in it. It just means that it's something to look at, right? So, wow. Okay, I'll pull one of these. This Star Codes Astro. Why not? Why not? Spirit, what message do you have to close out this reading for my creative unconscious collective? Fifth house and passion. That's more Leo and Sun energy. So there you have it, my friends. I I hope that this resonated. If it did, give it a like and subscribe. There are other ways you can connect on the channel, but if this is where we part, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, my darlings, I hope it finds you very, very well. Take care.